Hey, I'm a 31-year-old woman, and life's been kind of a mess lately. I'm not gonna lie. I married my childhood best friend around 4 years ago, and life has been amazing for me in that regard. We both love each other endlessly, and we've never had any issues with one another. That was until my sister-in-law Nessa started creating problems for us. See, Nessa has always been a weird person, no joke. She's older than me by a year? And I'm not really sure. But she's the most immature person I've ever met in my entire life. She's also incredibly selfish to the point where I don't even think she cares about her own family. All she cares about is herself and whether her life is amazing as she wants it to be. I've had many conversations with her and even her children, and they've always had such a different perspective on life. She never cared about her kids. They would always just be sitting alone, trying to get their mom's attention at social gatherings, but she would barely glance at them. So many times I had to be the one who would make sure that we were all fed and taken care of at the events. You see, I love kids, and I can't see them being mistreated like that, so I did whatever I could to make them comfortable. You must be wondering where the father was, you see. Nessa's husband, Luke's in the army, so he's never home. He does come home a handful of times, and I'm not even 100% sure that she would pretend to be the sweetest and most caring mom anyone could ever see every single time Luke would come home, because the Luke I know loves his kids a lot. He would never stay with Nessa or leave the kids with her if he really knew what she was doing to them. They have 2 kids, both boys, one's 9 and the other is 7. So they were pretty young and definitely did not deserve to have their childhood ruined because of their mother being selfish and careless. Nessa would always be posting pictures on the gram, where she would be under the influence out of her mind partying all-nighters. She didn't care. She did not have 2 young boys waiting for her to get home and finally have their mother take care of them. I don't think she's even remembered them when she was drunk as a skunk, and no, I'm not exaggerating. Either way, Luke had no idea, and Nessa simply did not care. Then the thing that bothered me, though, the most, it was just when she wasn't just bad with the kids, she was also terrible at handling people. Oh, how do I know this? Because she would come to our house without asking, slump up on our couch while asking us to help her find a new nanny. Because the new one quit. It wasn't her fault that everyone who tried to take care of her kids ended up running away. The issue was that Nessa was incredibly ungrateful and selfish, as I've mentioned a billion times up until now. Every single person would come to work for her, and she would underpay them. It worked with a few people, and they would agree to take care of the kids for the entire day, even nights, while she was out living her life. But then she would come home and tell the nanny off for not doing things properly or for eating something out of the fridge or something of that nature. Obviously, some people needed the money, so they would try to handle it for a few more days, but they ended up running away in less than a month. No one wants to work in a toxic environment where the employer treats them like boo-boo, so they just leave. Then she would come back to our house again and told us how nobody wanted to work anymore, and everyone's gotten lazy, she wasn't the epitome of all of that herself. It was ironic, but I didn't want to create any issues, so I would just stay quiet and pretend like I agreed with her. It came to bite me in the butt. Around 13 days ago, Nessa came to ask me for a favor. I immediately knew it was because 2 to 3 days ago, Nessa came to me ranting yet again about how another nanny left and she had to go on a trip with her friends soon, and she didn't have time to find another nanny in time, and that's all BS that she usually just spouts about the person every time that they leave. Even before she said that she would want me to take care of the kids, I was prepared to say no. But then I remembered that they would be stuck with a crappy person that Nessa knew from days back, until she would come back because her contact emergency people suck and did not know how to take care of children at all. They were druggies. And I wasn't even sure that they had real food to feed to the kids, which is why I ended up saying yeah. It was only supposed to be a 2-day timing where she would go on a trip with her friends and then she would come back and then get the kids from me. I thought it was simple enough. I can handle the boys for 2 days, it's fine. However, I finally figured out why the nannies kept running away or quitting. She told me that she would be back by Tuesday, and it's next Monday right now and she's still not here. The kids aren't even getting anxious, and I really don't know what to do at this point. I'm sure she has not run away because she always comes back, but she's not here now. I've been texting her every single day, almost every hour, at least to let us know that I have her kids in case she forgot or something, because knowing her, she probably did. But she's not responding to any of my text messages. I even ended up trying to call her multiple times to the point where I'm surprised how she hasn't had her phone blown up, but she's not picking up either. It's actually ridiculous because I know she's not busy or whatever. Literally yesterday, she posted around 5 to 6 pictures of her dancing in what seemed like a bar surrounded by drinks and people who I recognized as her friends. I even replied to her post asking her if she could please reply to my message or pick up my phone calls, but she just deleted them, as soon as I posted it. And, this means she knows exactly what she's doing and just being responsible for, and it's getting late, and it's hard to not have her get her kids picked up. The kids still looked pretty normal about the situation, which confused me so much. So I tried asking them if they know of a friend or somebody that I can contact who's on the trip with their mom, but they just shrugged their little shoulders and said they don't know, and they don't really care at this point either. According to them, this has been happening for a very long time, and that's why so many nannies were always annoyed with Nessa, because she would pay for the 2 to 3 days of babysitting, but then she would disappear for like a week, and then refuse to even pay for the extra days. The kids seemed so casual saying all this too, and I just felt my heart break. They were used to Nessa leaving them and then coming back days or weeks after she promised. They even said that they did not really get a lot of attention from their mother either, even when she was home. She barely bothered to check in with them and see how they were doing. She just made sure that they were fed, even if it wasn't healthy, and that they showed up at school and stuff, that's it. I was so infuriated when I heard this, because if this is the way she's treating my nephews, then she really doesn't deserve to have my husband Nate also agreed with me and told me that we were going to have a little chit-chat with Nessa as soon as she comes back and make sure that she gets her head out of the gutter so that she can be mature and act like a mother should act. She has not responded to our messages yet, but an hour ago, I left a text for her that said I'd call CPS on her if she did not reply in a day, and I really will, because enough is enough, right? Update number 1. Hey, so before I give you guys an update on what happened ever since I posted the previous post, I need to clarify some things really quick because it's been bothering me ever since I read the comments. Somebody on my last post commented that I'm selfish and just like Nessa because I'm putting the kids through CPS instead of adopting them and keeping them in my own house. That comment hurt me a lot because I really care about these kids, and being perceived as somebody who doesn't give a poop about what the kids go through is extremely hard. And you guys don't know anything apart from what I've told you, so you can't really make a judgment, but I'd still like to clarify. Nate and I had already decided when we got married that we didn't want kids, and that was something I was very adamant about, which is why we still don't have kids even if we've been married for like 4 years. Personally, I don't think I'm mentally ready to have kids as well, so it would not be a good environment for both of the boys to stay in either, and quite frankly, it's not my responsibility to take care of the kids if their mother does not take care of them. That's exactly why the CPS is there, so that they can take care of the issues when the parents don't. Anyways, I'm too aggravated right now, and I really need to get to the point of the update, so let me just tell you guys exactly what happened last week. So there I was, scrolling through my Instagram feed like any other day, and I see Nessa posting about her wild and crazy adventures with her friends. I mean, come on, it was like she was rubbing it in my face, and as soon as I saw that, I felt like I reached my breaking point, because I just couldn't shake the feeling of anger and frustration, so I did something kinda drastic, but something that I warned Nessa that I would do. I screenshotted all of the posts and gathered screenshots of my text messages that she had not replied to for almost 3 weeks, where I was telling her that she needed to pick the kids up as soon as possible, and that I would not be taking care of them anymore. Then I made the call. It was a nerve-wracking call, but at the same time, I could not shake off the feeling that I was doing the right thing. The only thing that was bugging me was that I was essentially accusing my own family members of the neglect. But then I remembered the children, and they deserved better than Nessa as a mom, because she's essentially ruining their childhood due to her idiotic behavior. The next thing I knew, CPS was on the case, because they took my report oh so serious and launched an investigation. On the other hand, I feel relieved that somebody's finally looking into their behavior, but on the other, I can't help but feel exhausted about the entire thing, because this isn't something I've ever thought I would be dealing with. Anywho, they haven't gotten back to me yet, but I'll update you as soon as they do, and please pray and hope that it all goes well and that the children finally get the help that they need. Update number 2. Hello, everyone. I'm back again with an update after approximately a month. It's been all a blur. Days turned into weeks, and Nessa did not reply to me a single time. I basically told her that I was calling CPS and making sure that the children were going in temporary custody, saying that she would have no access to them and that, well, I couldn't keep them at my house either. She did not read the message, and for some reason I feel like she thought I was bluffing about the entire thing. A few days ago, I get a call from Child Protective Services. They tell me that they had finally reached a decision and that they were going to take Nessa's children into temporary custody. Even though I've expected this, because of all the evidence that I sent them, the news hit me a lot harder than I expected it to. The gravity of the situation, the fact that I just put 2 kids into CPS because of my own family is incapable of taking care of them. It just crashed down on me because I don't anticipate the things would escalate so rapidly. Part of me feels a sense of validation and reassurance that I've done the right thing by speaking up for the children. But alongside it, there's the feeling of doubt that's lingering about. I felt like I was crossing a line and I might have been able to pursue another course of action. But then I talked to Nate about it and he said that even though it's his own brother's children, he supports me completely. Because we have no way to contact Loot right now, and there's also no way that he would be able to come back so quick. Besides, there's no other course of action because Nate and I aren't mentally ready to take care of the children as our own either. But then something happened that I was not anticipating at all. After weeks of silence from Nessa, I guess she finally reached the breaking point, because the last text that I sent her was that I was calling CPS and making them take her children away since she could not be bothered to care for them. It was to that she finally responded, simply saying, "Don't you dare." Her message just made me even angrier because it seemed like, really? Reality's finally sinking in for her? And she also realized that I wasn't joking around because it was the 3rd time I had told her I was calling CPS. Now, I'm just waiting to see what her reaction will be when she comes home to find the summoning messages at her house, telling her that she needs to come to CPS and figure the entire thing out since the CPS called me and told me that they would pick the 2 kids up tomorrow and take them into temporary custody. Now, well, Luke comes to pick them up or Nessa proves a way to ensure that she's going to be a good mom. Update number 3. So, guys, I'm back. It's actually been 2 whole weeks since my last update. But oh my goodness, it's been a roller coaster ever since. I don't even know where to start with what happened, because it was all so much, but I know I need to give you guys a very specific rundown of the thing, so let me get started. If my words sound confusing, that's probably because the entire week has just fried my brain to the max. So it's not even working properly anymore, and in fact, I don't even think it's working at all. Either way, let me tell you Nessa's reaction to finding out that I was not bluffing and that I actually sent her children to CPS, since she failed to take care of them. It was very confusing and intense when CPS showed up to take the kids. I was relieved that the children would be safe at last, but I also carried a lot of guilt about how my choice would affect the children and the dynamics of the family. However, I talked to the kids one-on-one before they left with CPS. I told them to tell them the truth about their mom's actions, stressing the importance of speaking up if they wanted their mother to be held accountable for her carelessness. Although I knew it was essential for the kids' welfare, it was a difficult subject, especially because the boys were just kids. But then again, because of how Nessa treated them, they were too mature for their age and definitely would be able to make sure that their mom got punished for whatever she did. So weeks went by with no word from Nessa. I was curious how she was dealing with the situation. Still, part of me hoped that she was taking this time to look back on her actions and make improvements for the future, especially something to show CPS that she was not a bad mom and could actually take care of her kids. I guess it was wishful thinking, but that's all that kept me sane that week, because I don't even have the kids with me to ensure that they were all right. Then a week after that, I was enjoying some time alone since Nate was at work, and I had the entire afternoon free. However, as soon as I turned my show on, I heard loud knocking echoing through the house. Nessa kept ringing the doorbell and then knocking just as much, if not even more aggressively, demanding that I open up this door and let her in instantly. She was actually screaming, so I rushed because I didn't want the entire neighborhood to be mad. Nessa was there, her face twisted with some sort of desperation. She was saying really mean things in front of everybody, and it felt like she was trying to make me look bad and take back the control of the situation. I tried to keep my cool. I did. But her words made me angry a lot, and I was just trying to do what was best for the kids, and she was making me look like a bad person. It seemed like Nessa was freaking out, maybe because she was scared didn't know what else to do. It's not like she cared about the children, honestly, and I think she was more scared for herself than she was for the kids. But even though she was yelling, I knew I had to stick to what I said. It was tough, but I could not ignore what I knew was right. It was the thing to do for the kids' safety. As Nessa continued to scream at me, I felt myself get angry. How dare she blame me for the consequences of her actions? How dare she try to intimidate and manipulate me into giving her what she wanted? At that moment, I made a decision. I would not back down. I would not allow Nessa to bully me into submission. I'd not done what I'd believed. I did what I thought was right for those kids, and I would stand by my decision no matter what. And then, in an angry tone, I told her exactly how I truly felt about her behavior. After that, there was a heated argument that sounded like it could have been heard throughout the entire neighborhood, as we both threw insults and remarks at each other. It turned into a battle of who was the better person, and I wasn't about to lose somebody who didn't care about anyone else except for herself. But in the end, it was clear that I'd won. With a furious look, Nessa left me standing on the doorstep and went to her care, slamming shut the door and leaving, but not before flipping me the bird, yeah. She still hasn't returned, and it's been 2 days since she left, and I don't really know what to expect now. Update number 4. Hey, it's been 4 days since she came to my door, and yesterday she shows up again. I was eating breakfast casually when I saw Nessa, who rushed back to my door, tears streaming down her face as she begged me to help her get her kids back. It was hard to see her so upset, but I couldn't ignore what she had done to her kids. That feeling disappeared when I realized that those were crocodile tears. So let me tell you how I figured it out. Seeing Nessa so sad was really tough because I'm not a heartless person, and seeing somebody who was crying this much for their kids was still a bit reassuring, but something felt off. She was crying and begging me to help her get her kids back, and it was hard not to feel sorry, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was not right. Why was she suddenly so desperate to have the kids back? It didn't make sense, especially since she had not been taking good care of them at all. I tried to push aside my doubts to focus on the immediate task at hand, which was telling her that she shouldn't come crying to me and instead try to plead with CPS to see if they would, let her get her kids back. But the more I thought about it, the more convinced it became that something wasn't adding up. It felt like I was missing something in the entire equation, and it wasn't until Nate stepped up behind me that I finally realized Luke was coming back in 3 days. And as soon as I realized that, I knew what I had to do. I told Nessa I wasn't going to help her because she was not genuine enough, and I called the exact moment that she realized that I knew about her plan and her crocodile tears, and I actually saw her tears transform into rage. She realized that I wasn't going to help her, and that I had caught her in her little act. Nate seemed a bit confused at first, but one look at my anger-filled eyes and he understood what was happening. As soon as she heard both of us tell her we weren't going to help her and that her only option was to go talk to CPS about it, her face turned red with anger. Without saying another word, she stormed out of the house. slamming the door behind her with a loud thud. Now, we're just wondering what's going to happen with Luke when he actually returns and realizes his kids are in the precious care of the CPS. Update number 5. Hello everyone, so Luke finally returned home and oh my gosh, it's been so dramatic and intense. I know I'm late because it's been about a month since he returned, but there was too much happening for me to get the time to write this down. When Luke finally got back home, he could not believe what he was hearing. His kids were with Child Protective Services. I mean, how could that happen? At first, Nessa did not even tell him that the kids were with CPS. She just said that they were with us and that she would be getting them in a day or so since she wanted some private time with her hubby. However, Nessa's a very bad liar. So Luke instantly caught on that she was, lying and called us to ask what's going on. We told him to come over with Nessa since this was not something we could talk about over the phone. Not even 10 minutes later, their car pulls up as Luke dragged Nessa out of the car. So, yeah, Nessa was struggling, trying to make him go back to the car. He entered our house and immediately demanded that we know where the kids are. Well, we told him every single detail. And I swear I heard him trying to keep his composure and he processed what to do. And that's when the argument ignited. As Luke's anger grew more and more with every excuse that Nessa put out, their argument became louder and more intense. He said that Nessa was not providing their kids with the proper care and attention and that he could not understand how she could have just let things get this out of control. Well, after that, Luke went ahead and kicked Nessa out of the house, and once she left the house, Luke took charge of the kids. He thanked me for helping her and the brother, honestly. It felt good knowing we made a difference. Seeing Luke with his kids, it gave me hope that those kids would finally have a good childhood, even though he's trying to figure out how to get the situation in control, considering in a few months he'll have to go back to the military. But it's good that he's determined to give the kids exactly what they need.